Back for another episode of Spirit World. You got your boy Spiritual, blah, and you got my girl here, Luna, my co-host. Pick up some noise, make some noise for Luna. Hey. This time we haven't got my cousin Luke, who's usually doing all the technical stuff, so I'm kind of trying to do all the technical stuff myself, as you can see. That's why I'm late for everything. Yeah? So, let's see what we can do. Big up Luke, big up all the boys that can't make it here. Oski, Steve, Chris, you know the usual group from well, what's this podcast called?
I don't know.
Spirit World. Spirit World is called. And today we've got a special guest.
What?
We've got a special guest. We've got someone who's super talented, a friend of mine that's been a friend of mine forever. She's like the closest girl to me forever, you know what I mean? It's like same school, same church, same college. Yeah, you're the closest girl to me now. But there was a girl that was close to me even before you was born. And she's the amazing, the talented. We're going to find out about this girl, this woman, this amazing woman. Her name is Kylie Minogue, and we're going to find out about her. Make some noise for Kylie Minogue. Come on, yay!
But what if the sword chooses a queen?
No, don't stop! It is time! We both just finished fighting a war for a better world we want to see. But still, after all we suffer together, you still want to tell me that I am worthless and you are not.
How are you doing? I'm great as long as I'm around people. I did to, just gather the pieces, any of the pieces.
Okay, so we go way back. As far back as I can remember. I feel like I've known you. Same.
Like
Same.
secondary school?
Yeah, secondary school. Because so we're talking about the age of like 12, 11, 12. I've known you since then.
Yeah.
You was like, we came from an area where it was most like predominantly the white area, but obviously there's black people there as well. We're represented hard, but we all kind of gravitated towards each other in Wharton School. All the black people seemed to from all the different schools just got together, and that was it. We was all the same year. What's your first memories of them days of like school? Your first days at school, meeting up with all the other people.
Chaos. Do you know what I mean? You talk about secondary school.
Yeah, secondary school, Wharton.
It was chaos, and it just was like, your body and your mind's going through changes as a kid. You're like 11, 12, whatever, and all of a sudden you're in this big school. But I just felt there was like this. It was exciting but chaotic at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I knew I was getting older, and it was almost like the choices were much more. I don't know. There's more choice, and obviously, more community school for me is really special to me.
Definitely.
Because it's the only school that I knew of that had facilities in the evening for the community and parents and the kids at that school. And really, that was a chance for us, or for me, to kind of get to know me in a creative way. It's just very kind of. It's almost like very social. Our school, Wharton. There was a real freedom about it. You didn't have to wear school uniform. But I don't know. There was some.
Well, you did. I'm sure we had to wear school. We had to wear school uniform. Was it not blue? Blue blazers.
Black, wasn't it? It was black.
Black or blue.
I remember that I didn't have to wear a tie. I remember having to wear a tie. And I don't know why I didn't want to wear a tie. I just didn't have to wear it. But
I think the girls didn't have to. I'm sure the boys had to wear. I'm sure for the first few years we had to wear like proper.
That got a shirt.
Yeah. until we go to school and we just rough it up and take it out and make it look messy.
literally just
Pear.
Can you have pear? Remember the pears that we've got that we picked from the garden, they're not for eating, they're for like cooking. Yeah? Alright, give me 10 minutes and then we'll have a break and then we'll get you something, yeah? So, just,
what beer. Well, we at work.
so this is called multitasking, this is called parenting while the woman's at work, you know what I mean? I'm doing a podcast while I'm being a single father. You know what I mean?
Hey,
So,
nothing that women have not been doing for centuries, so don't even try it like that, yeah. Don't even try it when
so I'm gonna burn my boxer shorts, man, you know what I mean? This man's live.
exactly.
Burn my wife friends. So back then, who did you know from school growing up? Like before we joined Morton, did you know anybody like from your previous school?
Yeah, so yeah, there's a couple of people. Obviously, Floyd Beckett was in my junior school.
We got
Janet
Floyd's my number one boy. I'm
Yeah,
saying
we got
so.
Floyd, we got Mr. Beckett. Janet, who else? Jamie Purchase.
Yeah.
That Ghostly Coyote. Yeah, Jamie Purchase. I can't remember Grace, what's her name? Grace.
Oh yeah.
All those guys went to my junior school, so they kind of, so it was, but also my next door neighbour, Julie Sankey, she was already going to Morton.
Yeah.
So we were next door neighbours and she was like 2 years ahead of me. So it was kind of nice that she was already there. And it was like, well, it made sense to me to go there because we were neighbours, we went to the same school, we could walk to school together. So it was like, it was a no-brainer. And when my dad said, what school do you want to go to? Do you want to go to Norfolk or Morton? It's like, Morton? That was across the road from Bushby Junior School. So it just made, sense.
Yeah, it's a roughneck school, but I mean, there's so much things.
What was?
Morton was roughneck. Morton. Well, Bushman was rough as well. Listen, Bushman was rough. I remember we played football against your school. I went to Whitgreave. We got thrashed, boy. I swear. Did Vince go to your school? I swear, the man looked like a big man when he was 12. You know what I'm saying? We were like King's man. I swear he had a beard. We thought he was a teacher.
Talking about, honey?
I'm talking about we got thrashed by your school playing football before.
Yeah, you just mentioned the kid. What was the kid's name?
Was it Vince? Was it Vince in your school?
Yeah, Vince. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Vince. Vince Wally.
But when he was like older, he kind of looked, he kind of reached his peak. But when he was 12, it was like he looked older than he was. So we thought he was like older than us. Man scored about 10 goals past us, single-handedly. It was like, who's this teacher playing us? So, for real. So,
God, Vince, bloody hell.
Yeah, so I mean, we've got so much characters from our school. I mean, obviously, we're going to get to characters later, but obviously, this is probably, there's a lot of roots within your childhood that's probably got characters that maybe you might have drawn or something, growing up family. So, what was it like, family, in terms, obviously, your parents are Jamaican, I take it? Yeah? So, so what was that influence on you at that time as an early age, in terms of like, what was your dreams and aspirations? What did you think you could be at the age of 7? What did you want to be?
Age of 7?
Around that time, yeah, the early dreams where you want to be maybe a princess, you want to be a firefighter, or you want to be an astronaut. What was your first dreams?
Okay, let me break it down then. So I don't think I necessarily had dreams at 7, but all I know is that whenever music was played in my house, whether that's on the TV or on the gram or on the record player, I was that kid that would be like dancing naked in front of the TV, and parents cuss me, come away from the television, we are doing, but not even caring about. So that I didn't even feel like I was having to dream to be something. I was already in it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, I was already.
You was born, you was born it. Yeah.
Because it made me feel good. So it was like, to dream at 7, I felt like I was in the dream as opposed to like, I want to be this. I thought I was already, if I look back at my 7-year-old self, I think I was actually in where I wanted to be. Do you know what I mean? But
but like, well, let's say when you first started to have like a first goal, like I want to be something, like I want to be something. Like what was that like? Say, what age would that be for you?
I would say probably like 12, 13. So I think around that time, because I had so many influences, I didn't even know how to even write. I just had all of this stuff that was coming to me, and I thought, oh, do I want to be a singer? do you want to be a dancer? I wanted to be a fashion designer. I wanted to try everything because I was just so inspired by music. I was so inspired by dance. I was so inspired by singing. And I remember when Fame came on telly.
Oh yeah, that was a show.
When Fame came on TV, like the TV series, not the film. But I remember like it was advertised. The film was advertised on the TV, the cinema film. But I remember just getting these real strong, like butterflies in my stomach. And I remember just going, what the frig is that? Like, what is that? Because that, to me, it was like an expression of how I felt when I danced. And I was like, how do they know? Like, how do they know that, man? That's actually public. I remember feeling quite nervous and anxious when I used to watch Fame because it's almost like maybe my inner self was telling me that could be you. That could be you.
The other thing,
Doing that, but I couldn't at the time accumulate into a career. I just thought that's interesting. What is that? But I wasn't sure how to get there.
I think that I think that show had a big impact on. Well, it's had a big impact on a lot of people, but I think on our generation, and I mean even myself, I watched that show with the same kind of feeling that you had, not knowing what I wasn't a dancer or a singer, but I just felt like that was my world in some way, some kind of performance thing, and I think it did kind of connect with young people as well. Whereas whereas a lot of things like modern shows that dance and different things connect with the young people of this generation, but that was I think our generation's dance and entertainment and music.
I want you to think that you're chickens, that you're brave and you're literally plucking and you're literally just dabbing for brains and you're following a little bit around. Just play with that idea. Yeah.
My name is Tondi Ondua and my father died.
Go back to the chicken. I want you to think about, when you see those sort of black and white movies and they speed it up and their steps are kind of like this, it's really kind of ordered. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And just sort of dabbing with the head. And then as soon as you get to it, it's like, it's just very solemn and very holding down.
I mean, did your parents do you feel like there was that initial start? Yeah, I mean, okay, you'll be a dancer, I'll be a dancer, or was it like obviously be a doctor, which is the sensible thing to do?
I was really fortunate because my mum and dad came from stock of they were surviving back in that time. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if you saw the documentary that I sent out called The Bottom of the List, which is
actually I did. I never seen the old documentary, but I saw at the beginning. At first I thought it was actually you acting because you look so much like your mum.
But just answer your question. I just remember my dad being very simple and clear about it. He said, I just like dance. I said, well, if it makes you happy, then do it. So I didn't have that external pressure of I just followed my heart. I was really lucky like that. I was like, well, I'm going to do fashion, I'm going to do dance. And luckily Morton kind of also, which I'll give thanks to, is that I can actually start to nurture that side of me, because you could do GCSE dance back then. I thought, oh, this is cool. I can start to nurture that side of me that I do at home, or I kind of my play, I can do it at school. That's crazy when I think about that now. So I never really had that sense of I had to be this or I had to be that. I never had that kind of pressure put on myself. So for me, it was like if I enjoy it, then I'm going to stick to it. If I don't, then it's all good. But there was a time I remember saying, it's funny actually. I remember this moment where I went to, I think I was about 12, 13 actually. Yeah. Mrs. Lazaro was the teacher, and I remember going to, I don't know how I got there, but there was a workshop at what's it called, a civic centre or something, and there's the Royal Ballet did a workshop there, and I went to this, I don't know how I got there, I'm not sure it's through Mrs. Lazaro, I can't remember. So I went to this workshop, and the teacher says to me from the Royal Ballet, said, you need to go to ballet school, talk to your teacher, talk to your parents, and go and see if you can get, because we'd like to get you on. And I'm 12, that's a big question to ask a kid, to ask a teacher. So I actually spoke to Mrs. Lazaro, said, listen, I got approached by the Royal Ballet, and they said I should look into it. What do I do? And I'm only 12. And I remember her response, going, oh, don't worry about that. You don't need to be worried about that. Don't even. And I just thought, and I look back now thinking, that's interesting. I wonder if that was more to do with the fact that she never got in. And when you see somebody of a young age that's not encouraged, that was and I can't tell my parents that. They're going to it's not like they won't know what ballet is, but they don't have the facilities to actually cater for that. They never did.
Yeah,
But I remember that sort of stuck with me and thought, well, I wonder what would have happened if that went the other way. But then I wouldn't be doing the wonderful things that I'm doing now. So it's just interesting how things are meant to be for you. If they're meant to be for you, they're meant to be for you. If they're not, they're just not going to come into alignment. So, but I remember that sticking in my mind, that it was something that Mrs. I was encouraging me to do dance. But then when that happened, it was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I just find that those things really strange. It was that because I was a black girl.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't.
I mean, if it came from some Tom, Dick and Harry's, the offer, it could have been, she could have been trying to protect you from some dodgy people. But this is the Royal Ballet. Well, I mean, that's an opportunity. I mean.
Exactly. And you know, when you're 12, you're just going to be like a sponge. You're going to go, oh, okay. You're not going to know any better. And why would I know any better?
Exactly.
So, but yeah, but that was an interesting opportunity that at the time I was like, oh, whatever, don't matter. But only till I got older, I realised, wow, that was a real missed opportunity there. Interesting. But yeah.
Well, okay. So, but school. So at age of 12, you must have had bad talent then. If you was discovered, if they were spotted at that time, there must have been something about you. You had potential. But do you think that was that through just do you think you just practiced more than other people, or was this natural talents?
I just think I really gravitated to music, and I danced to music. I just remember, like, you know, being in this junior school, and the teacher pulled me out. She said, "Oh, watch her." And I think it was like Phil Collins, "You Can't Hurry Love," that tune.
So how did you answer that?
Yeah, can't hurry love. Ooh, yeah. And I remember this, I don't know what I was doing. Obviously, I was doing what the other kids are doing. I don't know what that was. And she said, "Okay, everyone stop. I just want to watch Coral." And I think I was in about 9, 10. But I don't know, that was just me though. Like I said, if you know, my dad was a bit of a music man, my brother was a bit of a DJ, so music was like, as you know, it's part of our childhood, it's part of our tradition. Like, music was played every Sunday. On a Friday night, my brother used to get his dub plates out and practice before he'd go and play at the local working man's club or the youth club or whatever. So I was surrounded by music all the time. So
what was some of the music or songs that you remember that were like played in your house that you kind of remind you of like your time, that time?
See, this is why you should tell me these questions beforehand so I can prep the answers a little bit more.
No, it's a conversation. You might not remember. It doesn't matter if you don't remember it. But like,
well, I'll tell you what. Dennis Brown for definite was playing. Peter Tosh. So lots of like reggae was playing in my house, and then there was a song that reminds me to this day of my mum and my dad, particularly my dad's, because it was every time he used to bring the song, and he's like, you know, just one up in the living room. Do you know what I mean? And I can't remember. It's called "Changing Partners." That's the track, but I can't remember the person's name of who sang the track. Yeah, and then obviously like the Jackson 5, the soul. I mean, there was so many. I mean, it was literally layers. And then obviously the 80s. Then you had the electric. I mean, you know, that's when the movement of hip hop came into my house. When I remember hearing the very first time, was my brother's generation. When I heard African Bambaataa, Planet Rock, I just felt something in the planet. Even today, it gives me goosebumps when I think of that tune. I just knew something was happening. Whether I knew it, I couldn't articulate it then, but I knew something was happening culturally, musically. Something was happening in the world, and I couldn't quite comprehend. Because when I heard that tune for the first time, I was like, nah, this is mad. Crazy.
Yes, we talked about the music at the time. So the 80s came out, and the hip hop is influenced as well. We get by the camera angle. So, but did you b-boy at the time? I don't remember your breakdancing, but did you bunny pop and stuff?
I think so in my house, again, it all starts in my house. That's kind of like the foundation. I remember every Sunday evening that my brothers, my cousins would come round to the house, and they would be in the kitchen, and we had lino. Yeah. Our own lino to try and stuff out, and it's like the kitchen ain't big, and they're bringing up their body. It's like turning the whole kitchen into a dance studio, which I just find who does that now? We had to go in the back garden and
get the lino, put it on the concrete floor. You know what I mean? But
I just remember just being in the living room when that flipping, what's it called, House of Praise or whatever that bloody program used to come on a Sunday.
Oh
Was
yeah,
it
yeah,
House
yeah,
of
yeah.
Praise?
Well, songs of praise, songs of praise.
Songs of Praise, that's the
Yeah.
one. But I remember I was too young to join the brothers then, because obviously they were like 7 years older than me. But I remember the system they had, like, and it was just like they had this music playing in the kitchen. I was like curious to know what it was, because I could peep in and look, and I remember peeping back out again. But I would obviously try a little something.
Yeah,
I wouldn't come from a girl, because it's weird. I was just so into everything. So I was into like, I was like a bit of a mod. You know what I mean? I was into like, you know, two-tone and what's the other group called?
The specials.
I think the last thing you were asking was music influences. I think I was talking about two-tone, the special, all that movement was there probably earlier on before hip-hop, I think, and then hip-hop, and then I went into sort of, because I wasn't allowed out because I was a girl child. I probably would have been a B-girl. I probably would have been one, but if my dad allowed me out to go out and, you know, be a Lego beast, as he would say, I probably would have definitely been a beast. There's only so much you can do at home, do you know what I'm saying? It's like, you can't really like do that stuff with your brothers, so they were older than me. And my sisters, obviously, you know, Sonia had left home quite early. She went off to work in London, so, and then Junie, it was just, I wish I had a bit more hip hop influence, I think. But then I sort of loved 80s soul, like even today, I love, like, you know, Luther Vandross and
of course,
all those guys, man. Like, but some of the old stuff, like Curious by what's it called?
Curious.
Midnight Star. All them Intimacy Connection, all them tunes, man. Cameo, you kidding?
Yeah, exactly.
Bad, like.
I remember a few years ago I did a music society questions, and I was asking people like who I know and stuff, like songs for like maybe a song for a lover, a song about London, a personal song, a happy song. And one of the songs on there, I can't remember which category. I think I was asking a song to recommend for people, and yours was the Black Gold of the Sun. That was one of the songs that you said. Yeah. That was the song that you wrote down, because I remember it on the list. So when I heard that song, I was thinking about you. my sister Coel. I am the black gold of the sun. These are tunes, Luna. One day, me and Coel was going to do a compilation.
You should play them on a Sunday. It's so interesting, you know, because as a child, you just have like an hour playing some tunes. And
I mean, we're always listening to music. I mean, old and new.
Yeah.
She likes vintage stuff, man. Vintage films, vintage music. Yeah, the classics.
Yeah.
So partying when you started like school. I mean, because obviously when we was at school, we had certain controls. You couldn't go certain places because of parents and stuff. But when you could break out now. Carol's at that age now, she can go out partying. So, what was that like for you in terms of like the music and the scene? What scene was it at that time? It was.
Well, let's go back, shall we? Let's just rewind and pull up. Yeah, let's
rewind.
Picking up Morton Community School. That's why I have to give it props today. I do, because I don't know any school that allows their students to have their Christmas party at Eve's nightclub.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
And our party, exactly, was at Eve's nightclub. So I think for me, at 12, that was my first witness of actually going to a grown-up space where there was lights and it was a club that you could. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I remember that. That was sick, man. That was like proper like nightclub. It was like. Yeah.
But
obviously there wasn't alcohol though. I remember it was obviously soft drinks and stuff. It wasn't like
but it didn't matter. It didn't even matter about that. I think the fact that you were the school was actually trusting the kids enough to be able to just let loose and trust them to be able to behave in a nightclub. That's insane to me. And I have to give Morton Community School props. So that was my first experience of like a real party. Well, no, actually, no, tell a lie. No, come on. Actually, no, I can't even say that, because we had parties in our house, not all the time, but the memories are still there. Like I remember like having Christmas parties, going to parties, like my family had parties or christenings or whatever, they would be parties. So I just remember having these kind of very vivid short memories of just being on a chair and it was dark and seeing my dad wind up with the next woman, because that's what men could do in those days.
Yeah, I can dance.
Tilted, and just seeing how he moved at such skill But as a kid, because I remember, if you think of your eyeline in the chair, you're just seeing hips because your eyeline is hip level, and you're just taking that in. You're looking at feet and hips. You're not really looking up, but you're sort of that's your eyeline. You get me? So I think the memories of parties was always, again, you go to a family party or it was there, it was just happening. But being independent for the first time, going to a party definitely had to be Eve's nightclub, first year Mott Community School.
Yeah.
Bad.
You know what I mean? So let's think about some of the music. Let's talk. I mean, we won't mention age, but obviously with the kind of the genre we're talking about, I'm sure people are gonna guess. You know, when you start talking about that 80s music and stuff like that. But there was so much music at that time. I mean, obviously, we grew up. We had reggae influence, we had soul influence, we had pop influence that was going on. I mean, we was at the when punk first started. Even though being black people, we might not have seen it as we was part of that. But we was influenced by the same music. Some of it we just even know was punk. We didn't know the terms, but we liked all that stuff. So that was an influence on us. So in terms of you now, how do you think some of that early influence? Do you think you've still kept with that? Like, because we do sometimes move on to sometimes we not forget, but we move so past the kind of even like the rubbish pop music that we liked. I mean, when we was kids, there was all the weird songs that we liked. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. You know, I mean, all these kind of novelty songs that we liked. Even like if you like ABBA, do you still like stuff like that, or do you feel like? Because I still love Madness. I still think Baggy Trousers is one of the best songs ever. Do you feel like you're still that same person as influenced by that person?
Yeah, for sure. Like I think of like New Romantics. I just thought, what is this crap? No, New Romantics, and all the white people getting very like in their sort of Duran and all that. And what's the other group called? Human League. Yeah. And they were pretty good. But now I kind of like. I appreciate them because that's part of my teenage years, like Duran Duran, Human League, all that Scritti Politti, all those guys are part of my teenage life. So of course I'm going to give them props. And you know, what's the other group called? And it was number one for ages.
Remember the song?
Tainted Love. Remember that tune reached number one?
Yeah, Soft Cell. Yeah, wicked.
Yeah, Soft Cell. Thank you. Frankie Goes to Hollywood. All those guys. So we're just. And Pet Shop Boys, I remember like West End Girls, when that tune dropped, I was like, raw. Yeah. And I didn't feel like I was black. I just felt like I was part of the movement, which was just like, this is what I love, simple as. Yeah. Obviously, I definitely feel that those songs are definitely with me. Most definitely. If I hear them, I'm like, yeah, that's going in my playlist one time. That's my memory.
Exactly, because there seems like a time when I was growing up, before you saw more like self-aware and conscious, that is when you didn't really feel like you was the black child in a sense. You know what I mean? When you was like when there was pop music, when it was the innocent times when you was with the white kids next door, and you're like, I like Kate Bush, I like so and so, you like whatever's on top of the pops, and you didn't really feel like you was different until you got to a certain age, and then it's almost like the separation. And with that, we kind of moved down our own path with our own influence, because in terms of going places, we're gonna go to places where people are similar to you, where places that include you. So you're gonna gravitate towards scenes that involve you. So I mean, where was you going when you started as a teenager? Was you going to more like soul venues? Because I mean, in Wolverhampton, we had to go to a lot of pop stuff just to get by. But when you had a choice
I think for me, the split came, especially interesting actually, the split really came for my identity, was like when I used to go to Monaco's nightclub. So in Monaco's, you had Tabasco's in Birmingham.
Monaco's nightclub, right?
Yeah, so I think, and then you had Chablis in the Manda Centre, so they had a Friday night little flex, which was pretty good.
Yeah, we used to go there as well.
Picasso on Broad Street. So I think once I started going to those clubs, I realised, they're playing the music that I really love. And Fox's nightclub, remember Fox's nightclub?
Yeah.
That was and you know, they had their night where it was pure soul and pure what we wanted to listen to.
Yeah.
And I felt when obviously I got to college, obviously it was more soul to soul back in those days.
Oh yeah, soul to soul was big. I mean, college. We both went to the same college at the same time. I mean, me and you was like probably, I mean, tight in college, and I mean that was like Run DMC. I mean, soul to soul was massive.
Yeah.
I mean,
Soul to soul was massive. That had a massive influence on me because I just felt there was this again. It's like the same thing when I heard African Bombardment Planet Rock. Similar situation happened when I heard Soul to Soul for the first time. And remember, there were programs that were on TV that were catering.
Behind the Beats.
That were catering for,
and I was
for black people. You didn't have. It wasn't just Top of the Pops. You had what was that program called on Friday night with Normski? That used to
I think that's Behind the Beats, or I was party or something like that. There was a few. There's one called Behind the Beats, which it had everybody on there, like rappers like Overlord X and.
Yeah, it was on a Friday night, and that would come on. That was like, oh, okay. This is kind of like the underworld is kind of having a platform, and that was exciting. I think I was just sort of going to college, or just I was starting college, I think, back in those days. So I felt there was this surge of a movement happening when Soul to Soul became this thing, and then and then you heard those tunes in the club. So I felt for me, but then soon as like 89, 90 hits, and then reggae shifted to ragga, I was like, "Raw, okay, it's that's when the Jamaican out in me came out strong." And I thought, "What is going on?"
That's like the Shabba days. You're talking like Shabba Ranks days, or maybe earlier, maybe like even maybe Cobra. I mean, Ninja Man.
All those, massively influenced, like Tiger, all them tunes. As much as they were, and then you didn't even know it was homophobic back in those days. You were just intoxicated by the beats. You didn't even think about what they're saying lyrically, which is kind of sad, really. But that time, ragga was like Tiger was. I just loved that. Like Tiger was like, you know what I mean? And all those Jamaican influence again. It's like it's part of your roots. It's like, of course, I'm gonna feel it. So But I always was kind of like so fun. I never kind of went, right, I'm a bashment girl or I'm a soul head or I'm a hip hop head. I just liked to just do this. I just like to do that with music and just like be consumed by it to the point of just like, oh, I like that. But also we were into art, so I think it was only natural to be selective and eclectic about music.
I think that's something about. I mean, I think that's something about a lot of black people in our town, that I think we are more eclectic than I think a lot of people maybe even thinks. You know what I mean? Because we have been influenced by so much, because we've got so much around us. I think, and because maybe, I mean, we're not as big as London, so we're not kind of like, whereas if you're in Brixton, you might just have enough black influence around you to be satisfied, to not have to go anywhere. But I think we've had to kind of have everything and sample everything in our life, and then it all becomes us. You know what I mean? So
I hear you saying, because I hear what you're saying, because I just feel so. Honestly, to this day, people say, "You from Wolverhampton?" Yeah, like I probably don't say I'm from there, but that's my roots, and I'm proud of those roots, man.
Yeah, for real. For real.
I am, because I just feel like, to be able to have that kind of childhood and to have those kind of influences, and to have the childhood and the teenagehood that I had, being brought up in pirate radio station days and hearing your song being selected on a radio, you felt famous. I'm sure you did when you moved to college. You feel like, wow, I'm famous, because I just dedicated this tune, or someone just dedicated this tune to me. You felt famous, and I felt really good, but also very community-like. So I honour those days to the day I transition from this earth, you know what I mean? So it's all good.
See, well, she's just asking where's the mirror. I mean, the mirror's been moved. You know what I mean? Wow. So the thing is, talking to you is like talking to myself, because obviously we've gone through the same experience at the same time. But it's like, I think this is the beginnings that we have to kind of like really recognize, and people have to know that you for now for me to go on to the next part. Because if I talk about where you are now and what you're doing now, I think it's important that people know that where you're coming from is you're not from London, where I'm gonna say it's in London you got more opportunities, guys. You know what I mean? Where we come from, we have to struggle and graft hard. So I'm telling you that now. So I'm talking about Coral. She's had to work hard from the beginning, from where she's coming from to where she's at now, and it's a big jump because I'm going to go back and forth, but I'm going to talk about where you're at now because I want to get people to know that in a couple of weeks' time, there's going to be something on TV that you've been involved in. Yeah? And I mean, you're going to talk about it more, but I'm going to say it's a big, well-known director that you've worked with. I'm sure everybody knows Steve McQueen. Represent Steve McQueen. Big up, big up, big up. You know what I mean? Black Power. You know what I mean? And he's done six films, am I correct? And
yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And your involvement in it, you're the movement director. So I'd like to go into like
three.
Pardon?
Just for episode 3.
It's episode 3, which is called a film called Lovers Rock, which is coming out soon. Yeah. So first of all, could you like to tell us a bit more about what a movement director is? Because obviously, my audience they're thinking, "What's a movement director? I can move body part."
It's not that rocket science for real. I think okay, so movement director is literally so I normally get this is what I get, oh, you're a movement director, and I go, what's that? And go, are you a dance choreographer? I'm like, well, it's a bit of both. So it's like a movement director's role is to work out the physical elements of a play or a TV or film. That's your job. So you're not just working on choreography, you're working on the physical elements and character. You know, physical elements could be like the landscape of where people are, looking at characterization. There are definitely different and more components to choreography. Saying that though, you probably will end up doing choreography as well as movement directing. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And it's the physical world of what you're trying to portray. That's kind of the difference between choreography and movement direction.
Yeah. So but you've done choreography as well. So would you say choreography is more dance orientated and movement directing is to do more embodying the character, the way the character walks or projects themselves? Because I know you worked in King Lear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you did movement directing. Was that more to do for the characters? Is that for the yeah?
I mean, every show is different. Like every show is different. There's not like one. I don't have like one one sort of formula, should I say. Every show is different because you have to be, as a movement director and even as a choreographer, you've got to be open to each production. So you've got to work quite fluidly, I think, because every show is different and it's like whatever you are inspired by, wherever your gut tells you, that's what you kind of respond to. So with King Lear, that was mainly movement direction. Sometimes it's a bit of choreography, a bit of movement, but it just depends on the show. It just depends on the show. So
for the Lovers Rock with Steve McQueen. Yeah. So what was that? That was movement. Was that choreography in terms of dancing, or was that movement as in the characters, how they stand, how they project? Or was it both?
Both.
Yeah. So tell me about this. I mean, number one, how did this happen? How did you become working with Steve McQueen on this project?
Right. So okay, so this is how it went down. So let me just explain quickly. I wanted to work with Steve McQueen since 2010 when I think Hunger first came out. And I was like, right, I've got to work with this guy. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I've just got to just work with this guy. There's something about this director that I really, really am drawn to. And then, so I was doing R&D for my own show, Run It Back, which you saw, which is like 2019 July. And then I got my friend of mine, who's a really close friend of mine, Hazel Holder. She's a voice dialect. She told me she's working Steve McQueen. And she said, oh my God, I got the job. So that's amazing. I said, that's amazing. That's fantastic. And she said, listen, if they're looking for a movement director, I'll let you know. I'm like, well, okay, whatever. Yeah. And then I got an email from her assistant. I spoke to my agent. I said, hey, you know, could you look into this film that Steve McQueen's doing? He may need a movement director. I don't know. Anyway, so that passed, and then after literally I finished the R&D, I was sitting in the NT green room, the coffee place, with some friends at the time, and I saw this email from the BBC producer saying that they wanted me to meet Steve McQueen because he was looking for a movement director to work on an episode called Lovers Rock. I was straight on my phone to my agent. I was like, you need to set this up. It was set up. I was nervous. I was sweating every single orifice you can imagine.
Yeah.
The interview was literally just up the road from Queen's Park, where Mark used to live. So that was like just near Kilburn. So I was like, couldn't believe I was going to do this. Can't believe I was going to meet him. And it happened. And he was just like a big brother to me. Like, and what I loved about that interview wasn't even about what I did. All he said to me, talk to me about your childhood, like I'm talking to you now. And that was it. That was it. He just wanted to know about my childhood and what did I know about Lovers Rock and what was that influence and I just talked about my childhood. I talked about Wolverhampton, talked about my family, music, just like I'm talking to you. And then next minute I know they said, yeah, we want you to do it. And then that's how that happened.
Wow. So what was it like? I mean, what was he like? What was he like to you? Like, in terms of, you said he's like, well, yeah, to work with as a person, because I mean, you worked with people before. You must. I mean, this is Steve McQueen. I mean, this is like, this guy is a legend, man. This guy. I mean, we're not just 12 years a slave. I mean, he's been a legend since Unger. You know what I mean?
I think it's because I think what it was like was it was familiar. We talked. Lovers Rock was something familiar-ish to me and familiar to him. So it's like we had that shared experience. So therefore, that wall is already broken because we could talk about something that we both experienced or have some knowledge of or some memory of. And that was like the way in. And obviously, he watched me rehearse with some of the actors. He watched me rehearse with some of the dancers. And he watched the whole process. And for him to kind of call me a genius or a G.
Yeah. You are a G, girl. You are a G. That's why you run Spirit World. That's why we're interviewing you. We only interview Gs. You're a G.
So I'm just like, yeah. And, you know, for him, I think he's very generous. He's a very generous director, very passionate director. And we just sparred. We just kind of, he's just very clear about what he wants. And he's very adamant about what that is. And when you have a director that is so passionate, you just want to give it gold. You just want to give it gold platinum. You go, yeah, man, I'm there on the ride, the vibration with you. So I was totally like in awe of that whole experience. And it's like basically if I died tomorrow on that day, I feel like I've done the ultimate. I've done. That's like I'm not saying nothing else could beat that, but for now I'm a happy person because I've got to work with someone that I looked up to, someone I aspire to, who has a major influence on me, and I got to work on Rotted Lovers Rock. Are you kidding me?
So say, because this is the subject we're talking about, Lovers Rock music. You know what I'm saying? So it's like.
So I was like, now I've got to get this. I've got to come through. I've got to come through. It's not just about Steve McQueen. It's also, you know, it's also sharing. It's also what's the word I'm looking for? Respecting that time, respecting the community, respecting the people that lived in that time, and you know, just knowing that this is something you just can't play with. So it wasn't like, oh yeah, just go and live there, whine your ways, whatever. No, we had to break it down to a science.
Okay, but what is the science of whining? Okay, because I mean, we've all. I mean, okay.
Babe, are you really asking that question?
No.
Really asking that question?
I'm asking you because obviously we're winding down. We're all winding down the girls and clubs. I mean, but we're not thinking about it. Technically, we're thinking about it sexually.
I think what I take from it is when you break it down, because obviously I come from a school of, yes, I went to contemporary dance school, but I also worked with a lot of African and Caribbean companies that I could count my hand now that were around in the early 90s. I was kind of very, you know, I had the African dance nurturing, I had the Caribbean dance nurturing, Kakuma dance company, Gida, all these fabulous companies back in those days. But then you come back full circle and you go to Lovers Rock, and if you think of the wine as a figure of 8, it ain't gonna do no twerking rock. It is literally a figure of 8. But what was the beauty of it is that there's so many levels. The whining is the figure of 8, but also people, it's not just like you're whining and you're doing your own thing. It's like it's a listening skill between the man and the woman, or whoever. Do you know what I'm saying? Man and man, woman, because obviously man and man did have blues parties, let's be real. So it's about the skill in the art form of it. I remember seeing my dad clearly demonstrate this when I was a little kid, watching him being, and it's almost trance-like. And it is known that women and maybe men have come close to climax due to having a wine with a person. You know, relationships have come out of blues parties. You know what I'm saying? It's such a spiritual high, because it's your sixth chakra, which is like, you know, your sixth chakra, which is like the place where you create. It's your water element. When those two bodies connect, it's not just the music sends a vibration, but the whole body sends a vibration. So there's a real skill to it. It's an art form as well as a flipping transcending form. And and when you do the research, you kind of go, right, like you said, how was I supposed to know that? I'm just whining. And then it's like you're in that dance. And then it doesn't matter who that person is. You probably haven't met that person, but if you're in a lock in a dance and that you're in sync, that harmonious sync for a while, then you're in. But also if you look at the dub of skanking as well, which is what we have to do as well. So that for me was also a magical experience. That was like church, as Steve McQueen rightly said so. But I remember going, you'll see in the TV series, but I remember before we went on set, we had loads of supporting artists and actors to do this scene, and Steve McQueen wanted to film that scene straight away. I thought, okay, we can't do this without a session. We have to have a session. So we were in a place where it's like, well, where are we going to have it? So you've got to clear the catering room out, because I can't get these guys to do what you want to do if we don't have a session. They're not going to be ready. They've got to go to a place where they're going to be totally transcended, because obviously we talk about 1979, where for black people they were going through so much more than what we're kind of going through now, if you think about it. So I want them to transcend. So when they go on set, they're already in a mindset of like, we're going to let rip, we're going to let go, and just let go of structure, but also allow ourselves to go to a place where we may be in control of. But I said I would honour that space, because I know skanking is skanking. It's a dance. It's a dance form. It takes you into a sort of state of euphoria, and you're letting go. So we had to have a session before we went on set.
That must be wicked.
And I'm saying this now, but I'm saying it. We would not have got that what we did if we didn't have that session. I'm just saying it for real.
Because
do it.
Because the actors that's on the film are young, so they wouldn't have been around during the time of love as well.
Exactly.
These are new types of human beings. They are not demoralized or defeated persons. They are leaders, but are rooted deep among those they lead.
We mustn't be victims, but protagonists of our stories.
Don't you think it's time things were different?
As individuals, we have an impossible battle. As a collective, we stand a chance.
If you are the big tree, we are the small axe, sharpened to cut you down.
Questions actually, which I'll have to have some kid questions thrown in randomly. What was your favourite what was your favourite cartoon when you was a kid?
Oh, Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry?
Straight up.
Yeah?
Yes.
That's what I was doing.
Tom and Jerry? I can't believe you even questioned that. Are you kidding?
That's probably the first ones we ever watched. But like afterwards, you know what I mean? Okay, that was like when you was early kid. But I'm sure during the 80s, there was better ones in there.
Okay.
Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And or for like Danger Mouse or
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons was sick. Yo, that cartoon was sick. and Dragons. What else? Ulysses, Lost City of Gold.
I definitely like Danger Mouse. And what was that one? Oh my God, what was it called? What was it?
Rhubarb, not Rhubarb. Not Rhubarb.
I love Rhubarb. Rhubarb was wicked.
I hated it.
I used to love that. There were so many. Oh my God. I'm gonna remember these now. Once I come out of oh God, that one.
So we're talking about cartoons from before.
There's no more biscuits.
Okay, we'll find you something else to get instead of the biscuits. Yeah. Have a look if there's anything there that you can see. Yeah. Okay. So.
I actually like the Moomins.
The Moomins.
Like
yeah, Moomin Troll, Moomin Park. Yeah, they got something.
Comforting. I remember just like coming home from school, with my cup of tea and a custard cream, and Moomins is on telly. I'm like, oh my God, that was comfort.
Yeah, I think they got the clangers. Do you remember the clangers? Right. That's there now. The kids still watch that now. Luna watches that on CBBS, but it's the newer version.
I don't remember. I don't think I ever got into that.
I think it was
like Snoop. Is it yeah, Snoopy. I used to like Snoopy. I know that's back out. No, Charlie Brown. I used to like Charlie Brown.
Do you remember Banana Splits? Saturday mornings, Banana Splits, Zorro. You know what I mean?
Banana Splits. Oh my God. I remember Tarzan. Like,
we all remember Tarzan because it's like we all watched that. That was like wow.
In my pajamas, Saturday morning with Tarzan. I remember that. So clear as day.
I mean, just think back to that time now. I mean, because apart from Lady Henry, I can't really think of anybody black that was British that we had. Really?
No, and if they were black, they were being sort of like caricatured in some sort of buffoonery TV.
Yeah, the butt of the jokes.
Mixed Lessons and Love Thy Neighbour and that idiot man, Alex. What's his name again? Alfred Garner. What's his name?
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah.
You know, all them programs. Mind Your Language. We had all of that. We with Jim Davidson. I don't know how we did it. We think about. You think, God, how the hell did we endure all of that? But we do, and we did. And but yeah, you're right. There was no one apart from Lenny Henry that I know of that was really kind of. You know, but then he had to sort of, to a degree, had to caricature himself to kind of get seen and to be put on the platform.
But it's, I mean, and obviously we had obviously shows like No Problem come out. That was like things like that. That was.
I love No Problem.
So yeah, it's like. I mean,
but remember that? I remember that program actually. That didn't necessarily have black people, and I used to love it actually. It used to call Going Out. Do you remember on a Friday night? It's come on a Friday night called Going Out.
No, British.
It's very much like This Is England kind of vibe, where it was kind of like about the young people and what they were going through at that time. Oh God,
I remember that.
You know it. It was called Going Out. It had this kind of like punk soundtrack to it. It's come on a Friday night. It's called Going Out, and it was all about the young people that were going through changes and stuff like that. It was good. It was good.
I don't remember that.
No problem with that. I remember programs. I mean, we were lucky because I think we were brought up with like the Royal McCoy and those sorts of things as well. Do you know what I mean? So we were really lucky to have the Royal McCoy, like all those iconic comedy series that to me was comedy. I just feel so blessed to know that we had that. And it's just, I don't know if you saw that thing with Mo. He's a comedy.
Oh yeah, yes. Yeah. But he talks about like all the comedians over the years, the kind of forgotten heroes. Yeah, I mean, obviously, he talked about 20 years from Lenny Henry to Richard Blackwood having his own TV one, to 20 years after that, Mo having his one. So there are a few from. Well, there's so much black talents, but like I'm saying, it's one in, one out, isn't it? That's the trouble. So it's been one in, one out.
Exactly.
So. Where do you see it now? Okay, where are we now? We've got Steve McQueen. You've got 6 films just coming out. Yeah, I mean, you've been involved in that. How do you see? I mean, well, black films or black filmmakers or black art at the moment.
I think there's a real surge, especially I noticed it last year more so, especially when I did Want It Back. which is kind of like my first. I just, you know, people said, why have you not done shows before? I said, well, I just never really felt the need to. The Run It Back was the first show I wanted to make. But I feel like I can count on my hand, like, the amount of black artists that I worked with last year, like obviously Steve McQueen, another woman that I'm really kind of gravitating to. We've worked together twice. Joy Gororo, sorry, that's her last name. She produced Blue Story.
Yeah, I've seen Blue Story. Blue Story is brilliant, man. I loved it as well.
Yeah, well, she's a producer, she's a writer, she's a producer and a writer. But what I love of how she works, which I really thought, this is interesting. So we did a short film called Bone last year, and it's about kind of her life. You know, it's which, you know, she lived in the detention centre for a few years. You know, she came here to look for refuge because she was gay. She's from Nigeria. She's just a dope artist. She's like one to look out for. But when we were on her set, like, majority of the people that were working behind the scenes were black. And female, and even the catering, you know, she provided Nigerian food. Like, she was like, no, you're gonna eat my food. This is how it's gonna rock. So I thought there's a real surge of people taking ownership of behind the scenes, whereas in front of the scenes. And I'm really excited about that people aren't waiting for a gate to open for them. They're creating their own gates. They're creating their own keys.
Wicked.
That's very exciting.
We've got the other girl as well. What's her name? The one from Bubblegum. Chewing Gum or whatever, Chewing Gum.
Oh yeah, Michaela Coel. Yeah. Another individual person that I had amazing time working with. You know, how that came about was interesting. That she saw my show at Hackney. Way back, she came to see my show, and she reached out to me and said, "Listen, I'm writing this show. I really want to work on it." I'm like, "Well, yeah." And back then it was called January the 22nd or January the 2nd, I think it was. This is back in 2019. And then she called me up. And I was meant to do more days because I was working on Steve McQueen's show. I only could do a few days here and there. And she reached out, said, you need someone to do some movement. And I was like, yeah, cool. And I had such a great time. And then she created this amazing show now, as we know it, called I May Destroy You.
I saw that.
She was literally, when she approached me, she was literally writing it as we were talking. As I'm writing this show, we want to be involved. Can you, I was, yeah, just talk to me.
The thing is, she can do everything. She can write. Does she direct as well? Does she direct it? Does she direct?
Yeah, she did actually. She co-directed I May Destroy You.
And she acts as well. She can. You know what I mean, this is like a triple threat, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's just, and she's got her own production company. Like, she's the real fucking deal. Like, she's doing it.
See, as I said, and also you mentioned obviously Blue Story, the boy from Blue Story, Michael Ward, who was in Top Boy. He's a wicked actor. I mean, but as soon as I saw that guy in Top Boy, I was like, yo, wicked. His kid's next, you know what I mean? And in the Blue Story, and then now he's in Lovers Rock. So I mean, what was he like? Because I saw an interview, I think it was for this production for Lovers Rock with Steve McQueen, and I didn't know he was Jamaican until that. So obviously he must have some connection with Lovers Rock, but he's young as well. What was it like working with him on that?
He's just very hungry, you know. He's just very hungry to work. He's a very hungry actor. He does not take for granted for what his talent is, and he wants to learn. And he was great to work with. Like, it's challenging for him to run. A lot of them, everyone was challenged because they had to slow everything down, because obviously we live in a world that everything is so fast paced, and to slow down is such a big challenge for people. Slow your body down. It was like he was on 200 miles an hour and he had to kind of slow his body all the way down. He really was trying to, challenge himself to really find, and he looks incredible in this film. Like, I'm so proud of him.
I'm looking forward to seeing him.
I give props to Amara, who plays his co-lead, who is also phenomenal. But they just look, it's just, for me, it was because I went to the screening and I didn't know that all the cast of that episode were going to be there. So I was just like, seeing all of them young people in the screening, just cheering, yelling, just bigging up themselves, and also seeing black young people portrayed so beautifully. And I think what I'm so blown away with Lovers Rock is that I can't even put it into I can't even formalize it. It is so mad how the DOP has captured the dance. Because normally when you do movement direction for film, it's sometimes in the background, it's not necessarily the foreground.
Yeah.
What Steve McQueen has done, he's put it all in the front. And it's so exposed. Like, that to me is that is the biggest compliment anyone has ever paid me, that they've actually put the dance right at the forefront, and he has.
Yeah,
and
man, I'm dying
just
to see
blown
this.
my mind. That,
I'm dying to see
but
this.
the way the DLP has captured all of that is just like flipping out. Come on, and you don't know what you're watching. Are you watching a film? Are you watching a TV thing, or are you watching a documentary? You'll see yourself. He's hard to place it.
Wow. So this is massive. Like says, I'm proud of you knowing that, you know what I mean, my sister is involved in something this big, and it's bigger things are to come, you know what I'm saying? But I mean,
Thank you, brother.
like I said, I know it's been a journey, and it seems like you've had a good journey. It seems like it's been fun in terms of like you step up. Yeah, I mean, you've done a lot of things. I'll say you've done a lot of things on the way as well. You know what I mean, like you mentioned a few times, and I mean, a connection with this film and is something else. Is like that you work with young people in this film, but you've done this already with a production called Run It Back. Which, tell me more about that. That's one that I went to see. Was it 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
No, 2 years ago. Yeah,
2 years ago. And that was amazing. It was like so much young people, like dance performance, and that was sick. It was like reggae, hip hop, grime, everything thrown in there. You know what I mean? Young people doing all the dance movements. That was wicked. Tell me more about that.
Level up, level up, level up, level up, level up, level up, level up.
So again, it goes back to it. I think for me, I actually wanted to make this show since 2013, but I wasn't sure when it was going to happen. And then I was like, right, this is going to be the year that I'm going to make it happen. And I've never seen rave culture put on a theatre space. And I thought, I want to see what I experienced when I go to Nottingham Carnival, or if I'm in a rave, or I'm in that. I want to know I want to feel that vibe. So why are we not? This needs to be on a platform. Like, people need to understand what this is really and truly all about. Because if I see someone talk about twerking, and I'm just like, nah, like just the whole dynamics of like what our music represents us and what it means for us, what it represents for us. I just felt like I had this need and this real surge to kind of want to make a show about Black British rave culture, but also looking at some of the microscopic things that we just take for granted, like, you know, some of the tunes that still have homophobic lyrics that we still dance to, and the misogyny of music and how that can sort of, you know, separate gender, and also how male the male masculinity of men gets sometimes questioned or argued or you know, looked at if you don't ask them to dance a particular way. So I was wanting to really look at some of those kind of like complexities of what those stories are that we don't talk about outward, only with our friends. And I wanted to put it on a platform of like, let's talk about it. I find this really interesting that I want to see what does that do to people. But I also want to celebrate us. For me, it was about the joy of seeing Black bodies really fucking letting rip and not policing nothing, Dread. I didn't want this to be a sanitized show. I wanted it to be I wanted it to feel like an experience that if you're going in, if you've never been to a rave, you've been to a rave, you have a sense of what that feels like as an audience participant.
Yeah, because a lot of times you see dancing. So a lot of times you see dancing on films and stuff, and it looks like Top of the Pops when like Steps and Co. Was it Legs and Co. were doing their stuff? You know, like they're dancing to some other music that's not playing. You're thinking it's two things. It's like silent disco. Two different things are going on. So it's good when the film proper represents the culture and everything just feels right. You can smell the sweat from the screen coming out. So I want to feel that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I wanted to, you know, and I wanted to represent that. I wanted to represent the culture. I wanted to do that. So I'm thinking, why the F not? Why I know I want to listen to something good, and I want to feel good about something. I also want to celebrate Black people. That's what I want to do. I'm like, what we in the UK, let's become correct. Yeah, we have done so much for the culture, and I wanted to also pay homage to sound system. Although it's not about sound system, it's paying homage to that movement. That because without sound system, we wouldn't have grime. Without sound system, we wouldn't have jungle. Without sound system, we wouldn't have any of these collective musics. We wouldn't have it. Wouldn't be there. So I would say, no, I want to do a show about it. And then I did. And then that's how it was reborn. We were meant to do it this year before lockdown. We were a week away from opening, and then lockdown happened. So, we shall see what happens next year.
Wow, so that's listen, things will get back to normal, I mean, well, they're not normal, but things will get to some level of where we're doing things productive, so we'll find another way. So, I mean, obviously, the whole world's affected by COVID, but we know the theatre world's affected by COVID as well, because the arts, so, I mean, what's your take on it in terms of, and what do you think positive can come from this for the creative world? For the theatre world or art world?
I think we have to remember what we are capable of doing. I think we have to remember what art does for people, not just financially, but what it does for this human spirit, what it brings for the community. And also, it's never going to go away. This is something people still want and need. And I think the less we talk about the fear, yes, we know COVID is there, but I feel we're going to come out bigger, bolder and stronger out of this. That's my belief. And I believe we're already changing and finding ways of how, to maneuver within this new COVID world. I mean, I just came back from a 3-week R&D theatre production, and I can't talk about it because I had to sign an NDA.
What's R&D?
Research and development. So it's like a research and development for a production. And I was really grateful to be able to do that for 3 weeks. So, and people are finding, and there's ways, we're just finding people are finding ways to navigate this new terrain. And I think we have to remember that. And, and I've been one of the lucky ones that I'm still able to do some work. I've been able to go back to some work, which is great for me. I've had to turn down work because I'm not available. And I'd rather someone who's not working have that work. So I'm offering them something financial I'd rather share it out that way. But I feel very positive about the fish. I feel like, even if, like, for example, Want It Back, if that becomes a film, then it becomes a film. Who knows? We don't know yet.
Yeah, that'd be great. How about to audition if it becomes a film? Yeah, I've got moves. Right, Luna, should we show what moves I got?
Please stop, Ken.
Come on, Luna, let's
come through.
Yeah, we do. So.
When you can't see magic in the moment, lights stop flickering, your spirit is gone. You ever listen to the music and the lyrics and realize this is no longer only a song? Life's also gotta struggle, flex your muscle. When it take the other way, you can show you're strong. Spirit world, baby, all night long. Let the world come together as one. Let the world come together as one. Let the world come together as one. Let the world come together as one.
Like, you didn't just get to where you are now. You know what I'm saying? So, what were the kind of the milestones? I mean, what was the first thing that led up to this? What was the second big thing? What was the few things that you thought, okay, I've got this now. This is good. Okay, this is good. Because you've done a lot of notable things. So, but to you, you might take for granted.
All right. Okay, well, let me just start off simply, because that's a lot of information that you've just asked me to tell you. I'm just going to be really simple. So I trained as a dancer, first off. So I didn't just say, right, I'm just going to be... It didn't
exactly. So that's the start of when people know.
Let me finish. Karate, you got to listen, you need to listen, Dread. Like, weird. So,
I'm listening, I'm easing you.
Like I was saying, so I did my dance degree. I went to Northern Contemporary School, Northern School of Contemporary Dance in Leeds. I did my dance degree there. Then straight after, I auditioned for an African dance theatre company, which is called Banjo Arts back then. Got it first time, so I had my first job when I left dance school, and I moved to London straight after. So as soon as I finished my dance school, I went right to London. And then I worked for them for about a year, and then about 7 months, and then I did an apprentice with a company called Ejido Dance Ensemble, which was the only African traditional dance company in the UK.
Serious?
And they were a company where they would hire master drummers and master musicians from all over the African diaspora, west, south, east, and west, or west, south, east, and north, to come and teach you specialised dances. So I was there for a year. And within that year, I moved to Birmingham for 3 months doing an apprentice with Birmingham Kuma Dance Theatre Company, which is well known back in the day in Birmingham. They're like an African and Caribbean dance theatre company. So I got to learn some contemporary African dance, Caribbean dance, a bit of a, not quite sure what that really was at the time. But then I did lots of folkloric, traditional Caribbean dancing as well. So I had that as a rich, so that was kind of like my sort of sponge as like, whoa, this is so interesting. And I was I bothered about going to contemporary dance? It's so funny, you know, because I remember the reason I got into contemporary dance was because I saw a company which was called the Phoenix Dance Theatre Company at school at the Midlands Arts Centre. I think I was in my 4th or 5th year, and I was blown away. And there were there's these amazing, phenomenal black men doing shit that I was like, they do pirouettes that ballerinas do, but they can drop it like it's hot, like it's nothing. And they can do everything. Because they came from they were the kind of like dance where I aspired to, because they could do the social dances, because that was in their DNA, but they could also do the classical traditional. And I thought, top. You know, I'm not talking about the Phoenix Dance Company now, I'm talking about the Phoenix Dance Company back in the early 1980s. Those are the true, for me, pioneers of dance to me. And they went to the same dance school I went to in Leeds. I was blown away. I was like, yeah, brilliant. So I had all the influence going on. And then obviously when I moved to London, obviously I was in and out of work. It wasn't straightforward, as you know. I obviously did waitressing jobs. I did whatever jobs I could to obviously fill the gap, because that's what you do when you're auditioning and you have to train and you have to do dance class. But I think for me, I came from that generation. I had a conversation with my friend the other day about my days were typically, I remember being in judo, we danced from 10 o'clock until 6, and from 7 till 9:30, I'd go to a dance class, which was done by a friend of mine named Nitego. He was a Ghanaian dance teacher, phenomenal dancer. He used to go to judo as well. And that would be my week, 10 to 6, Wednesdays and Fridays, or Wednesdays and Mondays, I'd do class. So my days are full. So all I did was stretch, go class, stretch, go class, stretch, go class. That was my routine. So that was my like core. And then I went then I worked with John D.
Oh yeah, John D. We got John D. That's another legend.
John D. So I did Aeroplane, 2 others did Aeroplane Man at the place, which was phenomenal. That was just like a real fresh. It was such a good time, because we were doing work that we wanted to talk about, and it was his work, and it was just such a fun job to do. It was just brilliant. And then what happened after that? I think it was, and that's kind of when I sort of like didn't dance for a while. So I think my dad passed away around that time, so I was like, okay, I'm done. But then the year after, I auditioned for The Lion King. No, I auditioned for The Lion King, and I didn't get it. So my dad passed away that year, and I thought, well, that's why. And there's no way I've been able to cope with it. And the year after, I auditioned again for Lion King. I got it. So I did that for a year. And then I did that. And then I went on to dance with Kylie Minogue for about a year and a half.
Yeah, because that was big to me at the time. I swear, I was like, it's big.
It was big for her, because that's when she sort of spread her wings and went international.
Yeah, because that was the album, the Can't Get You Out of My Mind album, which is the biggest album.
Can't Get My Head.
Yeah.
And she just went catastrophic, because LA wanted to see her in New York. We travelled all over. And I mean, I've been on the David Letterman show, and what's the other one? The guy in LA. Oh God, what's his name? Saturday Night Live. You know, we did all those shows.
So on the video, you're one of the girls with the visors.
Yeah,
wow.
What we have to wear now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you're the pioneer.
That's where it is.
Yeah.
That was just an experience. I got to travel, and I got to see the world, and I've been to we stayed in some of the best hotels and the best places you could think of. So when you have that experience, you kind of go, you just got to keep getting bigger. You just got to keep growing. Yeah. And I was just really fortunate to be one of those primary dance that I was on tour with her, and you know, and that happened for about a year and a half, I would say.
Yeah.
And then yes, there's just these moments of like, oh, I don't want to do that for a bit. I want to try something else. So I did textiles. I went back to styling for a little while as well. That was just something I wanted to do, you know. And then
Yeah, because I mean, you've got textile background because we went to art college together, and I was doing graphic design, and you were doing textile. We all did textiles and art together. So
that always stayed with me. So and then it wasn't until I started just doing a full-time job because I thought I need money. It's that simple. And then a year passed, and I thought I need to get back in performing arts. And then, again, I believe in universal law. Like I saw an audition for DV8 Physical Theatre Company. Now, DV8, for people that do not know DV8, they are the pioneers of physical theatre in the UK.
Yeah, you told me about DV8.
They go back to 1986. Check them out on the South Bank show. Like Lloyd Newson, DV8 are the
Yeah.
For me to get into that company, I was like, rough. And I had not been dancing for like a year and a half. So I was like, what the hell? Yeah. And then it was like my turning point of like, no, I miss performing. I need to go back performing. And then I got into DV8 for 2 years, which really shifted my compass of how I saw performance, because that's when I sort of like, oh, I'm not just a dancer, I'm also an actor. I can actually act. And that to me was like the change. That was a shift for me of like, Ross.
Yeah, that must have been a big shift.
I worked so hard in my life, blood, sweat, and mother effing tears. Now, normally when you do theatres, people know who's theatre heads out there, you normally have a window of like 4 to 6 weeks of rehearsal time, right? With DV8, you have 5 months to rehearse. That is luxury in the eyes of theatre, okay? So that's the way they work, because they are so pedantic about their, and the practice, it stayed with me. And I've always been grateful. And I remember I'm talking about blood, sweat and tears for real, not like just saying it, blood, sweat and mother effing tears. Like nothing close to it, and nothing ever will. So I'm really grateful that time. And then I was performing, and I did that for a bit, and then I was just doing some acting, just little bits. I can't remember, it's very vague now. But then the dancing kind of came to a standstill around 2010, 11-ish, no, 13. That's when 2015 was the last show that I did physically, and that was the NT Everyman then. But during that time, I was still doing a bit of choreography, and then I was asked to be a dance assistant in 2009 for the National, in a show that I was in at the same time. So it's the movement directing and choreography started to just kind of do that with the performing, and it started to kind of and the movement directing took over, and the performance kind of like went, okay, it took a back burner, because I was like also trying to play with this. So, and then it just took off, and then I did my master's in theatre practice. I went back to study in 2014, did my master's, but I was still working. So I've been really fortunate to just work. I mean, I've done them all the theatres, I've done them all apart from the Old Vic. Wow. But now I'm at a place that I choose what I want to work on now. So that's where I'm at. So I'm in a good place to say I can choose that, and I've got to give props to my agent, because she saw my potential, and I don't think she realised how much I did. And it's nice to know that people know me now in the theatre industry, and a little bit in the TV and film industry. So I feel blessed to be in a position where I can actually choose the work that I want to do.
That's amazing.
What I have.
Exactly. That's amazing. I mean, see, like I said, thank you. That's been a long journey, but like I said, you pointed out so much things in there, and I know you missed out so much things as well, because I mean, there's so much things on your catalogue that you've done. It's like when you think back, look back now to 7-year-old again. That was the first question they asked you about the 7-year-old dream. I mean, this was way beyond that. You know what I'm saying?
Way beyond. Like, and I'm so grateful that I've still got that 7-year-old in me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I still see, like, I think of my 7-year-old self dancing in front of my brother's mirror. When my brother would go out, I'll probably say 9, 10, and I would practice my dance moves to, music on a Saturday afternoon. That was my dance class to me. I never went to ballet. I never went to a dance class outside until I got to secondary school. But my dance class happened on a Saturday afternoon after I went shopping with my mum and dad. I'd come home, my brother would be out with his cousins or whatever, and I'd have that room to myself, because my bedroom was too small back then, but his room was bigger. And he had one of those walls where the doors are with mirrors. Yeah. that I do there just practicing moves. Just and it wasn't even practicing moves, just back self-expression. Just put the music on, just like flex out. Flex out. So that was my dance school.
So do you think would you say because I think dancing and confidence sometimes goes together in some ways, but like not necessarily being a good dancer but being a confident dancer or someone it's like expressive. Would you say? I mean, do you see a connection with like dancing and personality? Because you seem someone who's quite outgoing, confident to me, but I see that you're not shy on the dance floor as well. But it's like I don't know. Do you feel like? I wouldn't say I'm confident in life. I'm not a confident dancer unless I know I'm really good. But it was kind of b-boying and breakdancing or certain kind of moves, and I'll be in the middle of the dance floor. If it's something that's like so much movement, so you have to detect, then I'm standing back. You know what I'm saying? But you've worked with always somebody who's, I feel like you're confident in life and confident on the dance floor. Do you think that's just because you're good at dancing, or do you think it's just even if you would just express yourself anyway, regardless?
Battery's low. I think it's the can you still see me?
Yeah.
I think it's the latter what you said. I think it's because I just like to be music just has always moved me. So I have to express myself. I wouldn't say I'm a skilled dancer. Obviously I've got skills. Obviously. Not probably now, but back in the day, you know. But I think that's what I try and bring to the table. So even if somebody like we have a group of actors that don't necessarily know how to move their body, I think that's one skill I do have is that I know how to tap into that, and I do it through music. So my warm-ups, I call them vibe-ups. When I do my rehearsal, I just call it a vibe-up because that becomes a vibe up. I want people to feel like they're in a club, that they're not even thinking and judging themselves, that they can just let themselves go. Yeah. And that's the kind of vibe that I like to bring to the table because I know what that feels like for me. Yeah. But I think confidence, in terms of confidence, I think it's two things. So going to dance school teaches discipline and organisation. People say, God, you're really organised. Well, that's because I went to dance school. Hello. You've got to show up on time. You've got to be there on time. You've got to just get your shit on time. You've got to get routines on time. You've got to just do it. So it's just in me to do that. But confidence, I think it depends. Sometimes I'm not that confident on the dance. I'm like, I'm not feeling it because I'm just probably not in the mood or I'm not in my body. And there's times where, but I'm just in it. Like if I'm going to Nottingham Carnival and the tune comes, I'm just in my
when it's a tune, when it's a tune that licks you.
As I'm getting older, I'm getting much more sort of like bolder. Like I don't really give that much now.
I'm the same as well. I'm the same as well. So, yeah, but I think dance-wise, I'm less skilled now. When I was younger, I used to practice in the mirror, and it was like learning different moves and stuff like that. And it's like now, it's like I really do. I still dance for myself, but it's not like I don't know what new moves are. Or if I went to a club, I'm sure people will be doing moves that.
I mean, I don't know what they are. I was watching. It's a really interesting documentary on Netflix called Moves. I'm not sure it's called Move or Moves. I think it's called. About different dance genres. There's a contemporary dancer. He's amazing. And there's this dance form called juking.
Yep.
It's kind of like
It's not like daggering, is it?
No, it's not daggering. That's a whole different. And there's I haven't seen the other one. There's a bashment one as well. But I think for me, I'm just like I don't have anything to prove now.
Yeah. When you get to a certain age, it's like that.
It's like it's great. I mean, I think for me, I love seeing people when they're free in their body. But I think what I find quite disturbing is when I have an actor that comes to movement session or movement call and they come in jeans. Like I can't deal with that situation. To me, I come to movement call in jeans. I'm like, babe, like, your body's got to be. I need your body to be totally in it. And you can't. If I need to stretch, how are you going to stretch in jeans? Like that's what I'm saying. It's the disrespect of like this dance form, and I can't deal with that kind of thing. And that comes down to experience. No, for real. I'm not because I listen. I don't take them things for jokes because it's like you're saying that everything I've known and everything I've done, it's not important. Like, babe, do you think I just got here wearing fucking jeans to rehearsal? No, babe.
I might make the same mistake if I came because I'm thinking, well, if it was.
I'm not talking about no. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about when I'm in the work environment,
Yeah, rehearsing.
and an actor or a dancer comes to my session in jeans, and you're coming to a rehearsal. To me, that's showing that you're not ready. That means you're not professional, and that you're not ready for this.
Yeah.
You get me? If you've gone to drama school or you've gone to any kind of school, then you should know that. Like, what makes you think it's acceptable to do? No, that don't make no sense, because you're in a profession now. You're not even at drama school. You're in a profession. So don't follow the trend of like, nah, I don't need to be. I'm not interested, because I'll school you. I'll school you and say, I've had somebody, I'm not going to name any names, but I've had somebody that I've said, he's a well-known actor, and did a one-to-one, and I said, you can't come to my sessions in jeans. What are you doing? He just took them off. So, okay, he just took them off and did it in his boxers. You know.
I'll bear that in mind. But when I enlist in your class.
You won't be in my class because you're not an actor, so that won't happen, will it?
Maybe one day I might get a role, an offer. How do you know?
Yeah, you're not listening to what I'm saying. All I'm saying to it comes to the point of, I'm not saying obviously you may come out to, never say never. Absolutely agree. What I'm saying is, it's like you can't expect someone who's gonna come to a rap session and they haven't prepared themselves lyrically. That to me, unless
you're a sick freestyler, but still, it's this.
Yeah. Well, but even if you're a sick freestyler, you're gonna have something in you're gonna come prepped, right?
Yeah. Plus, if it's a song if it's like a studio session, then the song has to be about a particular subject. You can't just freestyle about anything off his head. So it has to be preparation for real.
Respecting the session and just respecting the whole, you know. So I think that's not to do about being older. I think that's just kind of like having respect for your art.
Yeah.
Respect your art, man. Because not everybody can do what you can do. So honour it while you can, embrace it, relish it. Don't take this for granted. Because look where we're at now in COVID, and look what's happening. So every moment counts. Is what I'm saying. Every moment counts.
All right. So we're gonna close up. But first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for taking part in Spirit World. You know what I mean? It's been long overdue. It's been long overdue. Luna, you're gonna come over here. Let's do a goodbye. But first of all, I'll say, what you got planned for, like, let's say after COVID's over, like, what personally, what would you like to, you know what I mean, what would you like to be doing? You know what I mean, when you get back into theatre, what's your dreams that you want now? That you're not saying now. What's your dreams now of adults for after COVID for your career?
I think for me, it's about making more of my own work. Like, all my jobs have been postponed, so it's not like I'm not got any work. They're going to be postponed. So that will happen. But all the shows that were done this year will happen next year now. But I just want a big, juicy, fat holiday. That's what I want. Just want to get out of London for like.
Well, you deserve it, girl. Where do you want to go?
Thank you. Huh?
Where do you want to go?
Well, it's interesting you said that, because my family are planning a trip to Jamaica next September. So that's the big holiday. So next September, hopefully, I'll be in JA.
Alright, yo, Luna, would you go to Jamaica with Carol?
No.
I didn't know.
I don't want you to come to Jamaica with me. No way.
He said you're not allowed. Carol said you're not allowed. Okay, thank you very much, Carol. You've been amazing. I love you, girl. Yeah, listen. Best friend ever. You know what I'm saying? Talented, amazing, Carol Messam. And check out Lovers Rock. It's going to be. Do you know what date it's on? Because the 15th is not that date. The 15th is Small Acts, isn't it?
I think it's okay. I'm not sure if I'm quite right here, but I think it comes out on Amazon Prime on November the 15th.
No, I think 15 just Small Acts. Because I've seen the advert for Small Acts. Is it the same day?
I don't know when Lovers Rock comes out. It's the third episode. It's the third episode in the line of the 5 films.
Okay. So guys, so check out. So check
Amazon
out
Prime and BBC.
Amazon Prime, BBC. Steve McQueen collaborated with my girl Carol Messam, Michael Ward, everybody, y'all. Spirit World, like to say goodbye. Thank you very much. We love you.
And Amara, she's also starred in the show before. Don't forget that, Amara.